The Terran ambassador approached the lectern and opened his folder as the room fell quiet. "We are prepared to offer you peace," he announced. "But do not think for a second," he continued, as he looked around the vast chamber, "that this means we would not be prepared in the event that you choose not to accept." Murmurings began swelling from the back of the chamber, and came to a point when the Drocht ambassador burst into laughter and bellowed, "Offer us peace? We summoned you here so you could present your surrender." Spurred on, several other ambassadors began laughing and shouting their agreement. Undeterred, the Terran ambassador continued, and the laughter abetted. "While the many colonies of the Council," he said, gesturing at the assembled ambassadors, "declared their war on Terra as a single united entity, the government of Terra acknowledges the sovereignty of each of the individual colonies." More murmuring, accompanied by several confused looks. "As such, the government of Terra is prepared to enter peace agreements with individual colonies so that they will not be adversely affected by the short-sightedness of any colony that refuses." The war thus far had been brutal, albeit short. The Terrans had first made contact with the Council via the Argotzi approximately 2 life cycles ago. In Terran terms, they would say this was 60 years, years being an arbitrary measure of time based on how long Terra, their cradle world, took to complete an orbit around its star. Arbitrary and inferior to the measure of a life cycle, as used by the Great Argotzi and several other members of the Council. But now I'm getting off topic. In that time, they had largely kept to themselves. They had allowed visitors to their cradle world and their other colonies, collectively referred to as the United Solar Colonies, a small collection of colonized planets and moons all orbiting Sol, Terra's star. They were peaceful and reserved and eager to learn and to teach. The war began when I was halfway through my life cycle. One of the planets orbiting Sol is a gas giant the Terrans call Saturn. Although uninhabitable, the planet is surrounded by a debris field, which is the source of a wide variety of resources, and the Terrans had set up mining outposts on the planet's moons. I say had, because they have since ceased to exist. The Drocht saw the vast assortment of resources, saw the peaceful Terrans working it with no military protection, and decided it was easy pickings. Some of the Council colonies were less enthusiastic than others, but the promise of bountiful resources, with no resistance, swayed the Council as a whole. And besides, the Drocht ambassador had explained to the Council at the time, it's not like the Terrans are members of the Council. There's nothing wrong with taking from them. As an aside, the thing that you need to know, if you didn't already, to explain everything that has happened, is why the Drocht were so eager to mine the solar system dry. The answer is a combination of greed and necessity. The Drocht had already done exactly the same to their cradle world, mined it dry. Their planet had been drilled so full of holes that there were next to no worthwhile resources left, and certainly none that could be recovered without causing further serious damage to the structural integrity of the planet. So they moved on to mine other planets, moons, debris fields, which brought them to the solar system, which brought us to the war with Terra. The Drocht moved quickly. With support from other council members, they brought in a fleet of mining vessels. Initially, the Terrans were open to sharing their resources, but as the council fleet grew, the Terrans protested. "Mining at this rate is unsustainable," they cried. "There'll be nothing left." "Nothing for Terra," the Drocht jeered, as they attacked the first mining outpost. It was overrun before the Terrans had even had a chance to mobilize. But mobilize they did, from a colony on one of the moons of Jupiter, to retaliate and to defend the second mining outpost. Neither of the operations was successful, and both the mining outpost and the colony were soon destroyed. The Terrans, to their credit, did mobilize a much larger force after the fall of their colony. This launched from their colony on Mars, and the net result was not what either side had expected. The Drocht mining fleet was destroyed, as were several vessels in the Council's battle fleet. This came at a cost to the Terrans, however, of the overwhelming majority of their engaged fleet and over half of their colony on Mars. This is what brings us to the present meeting, where the Council were expecting the Terrans to surrender to avoid further loss of their civilian life. For peace to be achieved, the Terran ambassador announced, the government of Terra requires the following from the Council, or any colony thereof, wishing to act independently. He cleared his throat. The Treaty of Terra and the United Solar Colonies, Article the 1st. The immediate withdrawal of any military personnel from any planet, colony, outpost, or landmass that forms a part of Terra and the United Solar Colonies. The assembled ambassadors murmured. Article the 2nd. The immediate withdrawal of any military vessel from any planet, colony, outpost, or landmass that forms a part of Terra and the United Solar Colonies, or any airspace or near space thereof. Article the 3rd. The subsequent withdrawal of any military vessel from all space within the solar system. Article the 4th. The immediate cessation of all mining operations and the subsequent withdrawal of all mining vessels operating within the solar system. Article the 5th. A formal apology and acknowledgement of wrongdoing from the Council. At this, the murmuring rose to a low rumble, centered around the Droached ambassador. And finally, Article the 6th. The payment of reparations by the Council to the government of Terra to the amount of 400,000 credits per Terran lost during this war. As the Terran ambassador tried to continue, the Droached ambassador shouted out, "They've gone insane. The mighty Droached will never bend to the Terrans, and we will never pay reparations." The final word was noticeably filled with contempt. "Very well," said the Terran ambassador, calmly. "Let it be known that Terra and the United Solar Colonies offered the Droached peace," he continued matter-of-factly, "and they have elected not to accept. I would urge the remaining council members not to respond as hastily and to consider what follows as the final warning the rest of you will receive. You have 30 Terran days." With that calm parting statement, several things, both in the council meeting chamber and across the universe, happened almost at once. The Terran ambassador closed his folder, collected it from the lectern, and turned to walk away. The soft clap of the folder closing was drowned out by the loud clap of what anyone who had witnessed this war, as I had, albeit not in person, but such is the benefit of the Argotzi hive mind, being able to bear witness to things we are not present for, would recognize as a gunshot, the firing of a crude, albeit very effective, small Terran weapon. The Droached ambassador was silenced mid-tirade and fell to the floor. The only Terran anyone was aware of in the room was the ambassador, who had his back to the crowd and his hands full. So to this day, no one has the first idea where the assassin fired from. A bright flash crossed my vision. At first I feared I had also been shot, but the truth was soon apparent, and much worse. The vision was not of my own eyes, but through the Argotzi hive mind, from the pilot of a merchant vessel in orbit above the Droached cradle world. The flash of light was followed by an incredible column of smoke and fire, rising straight up from the center of the planet and then expanding rapidly at the top. As the dust and debris began to radiate outwards, it became clear that the planet itself was breaking into pieces. An entire cradle world destroyed in an instant, witnessed by the hive mind of an entire species. The Argotzi accept. I screamed, to the chamber and to the Terran ambassador. "We accept your terms." The Terran ambassador turned slowly and looked directly at me. I'm sure the other ambassadors did also, but my gaze was firmly locked on the Terran. "Yes," he said calmly, his mouth moving into what the Terrans had termed a smile. "Yes. We expected that if the Droached had refused, the Argotzi would be the first to accept." He paused for a moment, before adding, "And we expected the Droached to refuse." The Terran ambassador turned again to walk away, and called out without looking back, "Tell the others." He waved a hand dismissively. "Or don't." Upon reaching the door to the chamber, he opened it and paused. "Terra hopes for peace," he announced, this time to no one in particular, "but it is prepared for war."
Thanks for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed the story and want more epic adventures, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for future tales. Your support helps the channel grow, and I can't wait to share more with you. Stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.